Thou that sleepest, arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Religion, sex, and politics. Let the discussion begin.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Trump and Big Brother. Can they coexist? Deja vu?
Oh.
Ball of confusion with comedy. Go ahead, Mr.
Whoever is Big Brother, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been recommending that you wear red to the polls, and I'm still recommending that. But you know what? I think I got a better idea in terms of what to wear to the polls. Huh? What do you think? I tried to get some more, but they're sold out for some reason. But some entrepreneur ought to take this thing and run with it. This is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Yeah, like the world today. I get that. Well, Tuesday, some of you been voting. I don't understand the states that have a 30-day period to vote. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't vote every day. I just can't. I don't have the time for it. But they give them 30 days or more than 30 days to vote.
I just fill out more and more forms and send them in.
Well, yeah, you could drag that in. That's a good idea. We accept the form and just
every now and then I go buy a ballot box and drop one in.
That's a garbage man is what I'm wearing, Kathleen. That's a garbage man garb. Okay. Kathleen wanted to know what I was wearing this morning. What Trump wore at his speech. Yeah. This is we do live in interesting times, that's for sure. Oh, I got to get this out of the road. You're about to listen to 2 hours of opinion and entertainment supplied by Last Call Radio, where you can see the difference, by the way. We're not doctors, lawyers, politicians, professional journalists, nor do either of us hold a degree in anything. Not that would make any difference this day and age. Our opinion, of course. We only ask that you, as an individual and or corporately, not take our statements or those that we voice from others personal, nor do we recommend that you act on them as if they were facts, although they might very well be just that, facts, our opinion, of course. You're not required to listen to, act on, or repeat anything that you hear today, and that any information or opinion we represent is meant for the good of the order and by no means intended to harm or threaten anyone. Can Donald Trump and the deep state, actually, whether he gets elected or not, but if he gets elected especially, can they coexist? It's kind of like oil and water, isn't it? When it comes to Trump and the deep state. Trump's an outsider. Go ahead. Trump's an outsider, a businessman, an entrepreneur. Look, entrepreneurs are stubborn and opinionated. He's used to being in charge, and he's applying for his old job back. He, like the deep state that he proposes once again to direct, keep in mind, to entrepreneurs, is not prone being told what to do. In the case of the deep state, they have unique ways of always getting their way. This might well include keeping Donald Trump from becoming president again, because they now know much better what this means when it comes to their power. It also appears that they have no problem practicing an ends justify the means mentality. That term came from Germany during a time period. I think it was somewhere in the 30s. Seriously, that's where the term came from. The ends justify the means. So what is really at stake here? The deep state presidential candidate depends on hate speech and fear in her effort to make America the abortion, perversion, drug, and immigration capital of the world. If Kamala and company are successful, it will result in making the middle class a slave to the government, whom they now depend on much for their everyday needs. No need for future elections, because we would now have the communist gods in control, diversity, equity champions. Greedy capitalists, big pharma, defense contractors, all supported by Big Brother news media, will proceed to sucking the life out of the hardworking Americans. By the way, 1984, Big Brother, hate speech. That wasn't in Orwell's novel, but 1984, Big Brother. The phrases come from a book called 1984 by George Orwell, who basically predicted, if you haven't read that book, you better get it, and you better get it soon before they start burning it, along with the Bible, of course. He predicted what's happening right now. Controlling speech, controlling the news media, controlling our elections. We'll get into some headlines that are very, very interesting. Yes, Mr. Anderson.
Oh, I was coughing and I just turned my mic back on.
Okay. Now, does the Washington deep
But
state?
yeah, you mentioned changing the Bible. Now there's some people out there that are saying they got to remove the parts about where it says Jesus was killed by the Jews.
Yeah.
Got to modify that book.
Everybody can find something wrong with anything, so let's just get rid of the Bible, right? That'll save all this trouble of like the truth. Let's get rid of the truth. We've taken God out of our nation. The truth follows, or maybe it goes with it, right?
Got a big eraser?
Don't need one. Blow it up. Blow it up. I'm not saying we're going to do that. 3-letter agencies. I'm not saying we're going to do that. I'm just saying you all might do that. Okay.
I think we make it bigger if we blow it up, right?
Yeah, true. You can't get it. That raises the price. Yeah, the law of demand and supply. Does the Washington deep state always get their way? To me, the answer to that question is unequivocally yes. Not immediately always, but just look at Trump's first presidency and you tell me who's in charge. Yeah, Trump made some good changes early on and had the good ship America seemingly headed in a better direction. This, of course, until the deep state, both Democrat and Republican, same bug, different legs, folks, had enough of this outsider. Washington, D.C., folks, is a country unto itself. I think they have something like 4 million employees in the federal government.
My goodness.
1 million would be a lot.
How many of them are American citizens?
Yep. Anyway, that's why we eventually heard, when they wanted to get rid of Trump, some unsavory accusations, a few film clips about his personal life. And then there's that Russian conspiracy, Russia. And then boom, COVID bomb was lit, which eventually helped cripple any chance of Trump being reelected. This, of course, included a hostile political environment full of voter manipulation, the 1984 news media, and the deep state natives stirring the pot, which continues to this day. And it's daunting to the former president as he seeks re-election and as he sought re-election before. Speaking of which, what's going to happen on November 5th? The official results are likely going to be under serious question as Big Brother politicians weave their wicked web of deceit in order to get their way. There will likely be some sort of a hanging chat event to settle the dispute, with the courts taking care of Big Brother in Washington, D.C., creating a debatable result. Stir the pot, keep the division. Both sides have already claimed foul with their lawyers in position and at the ready. What could make this any worse? Just add a battalion of lawyers, right? And boom. And have a bomb squad after me here pretty soon. Headlines before the past November election gave us a great picture of what we were to face post-election. For example, the Pennsylvania news station apologized for showing presidential elections results. I think it was 52 to 47%. A full week before the election, by the way. In another headline,
Never happened yet. They got it on TV.
In another headline, Vice President Harris claimed Trump will terminate the Constitution. What's been happening over the past 4 years? They're not following the Constitution, folks. We, the people, freedoms, liberties, we're not making the decisions. It may be a theater where we think we are. Well, November 5th is going to be so interesting. So interesting. Just that day, and everybody's going, oh, it's going to be over with. Finally, it's going to be over with. I don't have to hear all these negative ads. Well, let's see. We'll see. Here's a Pennsylvania news station. I already got that. Martin Armstrong saw a Trump landslide, fearing desperate deep state wants war and martial law as a result. You know, the vice president of the United States has to sign off on the election. And how about the Portland area ballot boxes set on fire to save democracy or something? This was just the tip of the iceberg when it came to what's happening a week prior to our November election. There were plenty of other articles, folks, threatening legal action on both sides. So does America have a prayer at this point?
Well, sure.
It's about all we have. Of course we do. This is a nation that was founded and dedicated to nature's God, and over the past several months, his people have been appealing to heaven. Actually, there are groups that have been praying for the past 4 years, probably since January 20th, and even longer, and many others had formed as our election day approached. But we need to be reminded of one critical item. God works through his people and through his church. However, if we continue to tie his hands and then ask for help, we pray in vain. On November 5th, the aftermath, we should look at that as an opportunity. We have a chance to finally put our feet to our prayers and reclaim the nation for our Creator. It's not going to be easy, but the more we wait and do nothing, it's going to get a lot worse, a lot darker. And maybe that's what needs to happen, because we as a nation obviously can't see the light. And if you make it a little darker, daylight savings time, right? If you make it a little darker, who knows? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Where do we start? First of all, we got to work on ourselves. And then next, look around you, and that should be your family. Dads and moms, and with the help of the church leaders, need to regain the authority of the family that they've been granted by God. The family is playing a critical role here. You know, some of your family, Christians, especially the remnant, the ones that are engaging the culture, some in your family are going to vote for people that when they get in power or when they regain their power are going to come after your mom and your dad, your grandpa, your grandma, your aunt, your uncle. and with the authority you've given them, first of all, they're going to take most of their money away from them by having them hire lawyers. Got a note here from Bill Dunphy in prison, Pastor Bill Dunphy. Take all your money, and then they're going to throw you in jail. The bottom line here is that we as individuals or as a nation put ourselves in a position where something bad can happen. And when we do that, it just might. If we continue to do that, then something bad will happen, or maybe something bad is going to happen. That's one of the many laws of nature, and nature's God. So if we put God in a position where he has to break one of his own laws because of our carelessness and inaction, and then we ask him to help us, what we have done and what we've been doing continually is asking him to break his own laws. We've sown this wicked web, folks, or sat back and watched it. Yes, look, there's a great amount of people, not a ton, but a great amount of people. Bill Dunphy is a good example of one of them that have been fighting this culture war for us. And we sit back in our caves and we sing kumbaya and get in touch with our God feelings. If we elect Donald Trump, is that what we're going to do again? Why would God allow us to have that if that's the positive there? We don't even know that. But how would God allow us to have that? And then we sit back and go, okay, Donald, take over. I mean, we've done that with every quote unquote Christian conservative president that's been out there. We just think that we elect that president and they'll take care of things, but we leave them out on an island and the enemy is blowing the wind of their sails, folks. That's because not to do is to do, not to say is to say. As an individual, as a family, as a church, and as a Christian nation, we should pray for wisdom, spiritual leadership. And here's the biggie, that we can once again work in unity. So pray, of course, once you see that need, stop hesitating and go ahead and do it. Then watch what happens next. Amen. Let's go to a break, Mr. Anderson. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This is your last call.
Well, you were talking about your attire, so I think this video goes along with what you're wearing.
Okay.
Viled so-called jokes.
Now, their freakout was enough to create a little panic in the Trump camp, which came out with a disclaimer that the insult comics' views don't necessarily reflect the views of the campaign. But would that be enough? Or had Team Trump just stepped on a rake? Had they just committed the unforced error that would cost them the Hispanic vote, assuming, I guess, that all Hispanic voters are pearl-clutching moralists like the Puritans over at the Morning Joe show, and then that consequently cost him the election? I mean, it was pretty harsh calling the island of Puerto Rico a floating pile of garbage. You just can't insult people like that and expect to be the president. It's not dignified, it's not statesmanlike, it's not presidential. Unfortunately, President Biden didn't get that memo.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Yes, you heard that right. While his party is out desperately appealing to any voter, dead or alive, to impress upon them that having a comic call your fellow Americans garbage, well, that's disqualifying for any would-be president. While they're doing that, Joe Biden calls half the country, his fellow Americans, garbage. How now do the Democrats tell everyone that an insult comedian calling an island garbage is worse than a sitting president calling the people he's paid to serve garbage? God love him, it's moments like this that I think I'm actually going to miss the guy. Now, I'm sure the Harris campaign will come out soon with a statement about how they're running.
Hey, the garbage man, B.J. Edwards, Mr. Anderson.
You're back.
Yeah. We'll return after this break. I can get that, Mr. Anderson. Just hang in there.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
And we're into the politics end of the discussion today, although that always leads to discussions about religion and sex. You can't even have discussions about religion anymore. I was talking
the
to a neighbor.
other is wide open, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Good. I was talking to my neighbor yesterday, and he's a good Christian lad and goes around the world from time to time and shares the gospel with folks. And I do appreciate that. And he's very inventive about that. But when you come back to America, when you mention Jesus Christ, the Bible, the conversation with that individual is over with. They're going to roll their eyes and you're out of there. That's a shame, because there's people that are going to be headed to I guess a quite warm place, probably a quite dark place. And that's for eternity. And I think that's a long time. Yeah, I think it's a long time. It's just, and I like, and I was talking to my neighbor, and he kind of got this. And folks, I hope you get it. I said, well, look, a bridge I use to talk to folks that I know that if I mention Jesus Christ, the Bible, or Bible verse, that the conversation's over with. But if we start talking about natural laws, and by the way, those are physical and spiritual. Second law of thermodynamics, things tend to get older. Mr. Anderson is aging. I'm not, but Mr. Anderson is. I'm defying the laws of second. No. Oh, anyway, cars rust, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Children need a mother and a father. Now, here's where you have to be careful, because if you say one male and one female, boom, conversation's over with. So just let them get into that end of it. And then you're going to have to ask them a question. Well, what do you think? And one of the things they're going to say is, well, a child does have to have a mother and father. So if you have two males and two females, and one's playing the part of a mother and one's playing the part of the father, well, that's okay. Huh? It's better than not having just having one parent, right? That's right, Mr. Anderson. Duh. Fixing a bad idea with a bad idea is not a good idea, folks. And that's what that's all about. We don't even know how that's going to work out. Now, I recently read an article, but with a young lady who was now a mother that went through the male-male relationship. And the thing she wants most in life is to have had a mother. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is a natural law. Look up natural laws, Google it, and start listing some of those natural laws and use them. And by the way, you can probably take one of those natural laws and find a Bible verse to fit it. I'm not saying you use it, other than for your convenience and your comfort. Political season, folks. Political season. Headlines. I just talked about this one earlier. Martin Armstrong sees landslide, fears desperate deep state wants war and martial law. Portland area ballot boxes set on fire to save democracy or something, like I said earlier. 2 containers with completed ballots fall out of a truck in Florida. I'll repeat that. 2 containers with completed ballots fall out of a truck in Florida. After reportedly falling from an unsecured truck, according to the Miami-Dade County Elections Department, the now terminated election worker failed to secure the back of the truck carrying the containers. Mike Adams, a very unique individual. He could give me a run before my behind every rainbow there's a cloud mentality. He could give me a good run for my money, but he can't beat me. Anyway, Mike Adams says, my prediction is that Kamala is going to be announced the winner no matter what. Pennsylvania, right? 52-47. Kamala Harris is going to be announced the winner no matter what. And then the election rigging will be exposed and a tremendous legal fight will ensue. I don't know whether it's going to be exposed. Do you know how simple it would be to fix all of this? We did. What is
ballots?
Yeah.
Paper ballots.
And in-person voting. In-person voting.
One day.
Well, I can give a little bit on that one day. Okay. But in-person voting is key. And paper ballots is key. When you turn it over to electronics, was it Colorado? Gave their passwords out for the machines.
I heard that one.
Yeah. Colorado voting system passwords leaked by Secretary of State's office. The Peter Principle, right? Wisconsin and Michigan state secretaries warned that results might not even be announced until the following evening. That's an optimistic statement as far as I'm concerned. Are you prepared for the chaos that right around the corner? Retailers in Washington, D.C. are already boarding up their windows ahead of the election. I can remember in 2020 seeing the fences because they thought Trump was going to win. Remember that? Boarding down Washington, D.C.? No, not on January 6th. Not on January 6th. No. They didn't do it then. That wasn't part of the plan. Kentucky County confirms voting malfunctions highlight Harris's name with Trump selection. So you go in and you vote for Trump and it says Harris. These are all freak accidents, folks, okay?
Whoops.
Michigan, go ahead.
Whoops. Well, you sent me a video about somebody who witnessed that.
Oh, well, let's have
a 5-minute video. I don't know if you want that or not.
We'll do it at the break. And if any one of you want in on the conversation, just unmute yourself and we'll let you in. I'm just rambling right now. Michigan, before Mr. Anderson, a Michiganite, interrupted me, Secretary of State admits nationwide program into issues with Dominion voting machines for people with disabilities. Kamala Harris claims Trump will terminate the Constitution. Pennsylvania news station apologizes for showing presidential elections result. We went into that before. I'll get you in here in a minute, JC. A news station in Pennsylvania. Okay, I got that one. JC, why don't you come on in, brother? I got you.
All right. You said something a little bit ago was an oxymoron. How many times in life do we hear different oxymorons? But I think you're going to get the trophy for this one.
Uh-oh.
The best ever. Church leaders. You did it. You nailed it. As soon as you said that, I thought, JR, that was stupid. That's why for years I've called them church goers. We ain't got many leaders. We got some. And I'll say it, a broad brush, paint everybody that way. But here's what I'm finding out. And, in the past, I agree with you. It's been hard to bring up anything biblically or anything about Jesus with people. But right now, it's ripe. I'm telling you. I get selling these Trump hats and flags. I do $120 to $150 a day at $10 and $20 a pop. Some days I'll do $250. Some days I do $330. There's a lot of people stopping here and getting these things. And most of them always, when they stop, and I have no idea if they're Christian or non-Christian or what they are, they get out of their car and they walk up to that little tent I got sitting up out front, table there, tent, flags hanging, flopping in the breeze. And they say, how's it going today? Or how you doing today? You know what I always say? I said, I'd be doing a lot better if they wouldn't have the government just didn't lock up my pastor for 2.5 years. And they look at me like, whoa, it just takes it all away. I mean, I do that 10, 15, 20 times a day, these people. And they look at me really strange. So I tell them, I said, and they said, what? I said, January 6th, I was with him 4 hours at the Capitol building. We never went in the building. Almost 4 years later, to the next election, they just locked up a preacher in America for 2.5 years. So what do you think of that? Oh, and they use a cuss. People get mad. They cut everybody. I've never had one yet disagree with them. They're all upset. So I'm riding this for all it's worth, just getting the word out there. I bet you in the last month I've told 100, 150 people that or more. I don't know. I can't keep track of it, but these people, and then I get some of them like I had a lady, or then I get quite a few of them. Oh, we got to get Donald Trump in there. We got to get Donald. And they'll be buying one of the hats that says, Jesus is my savior. Trump is my president. And I said, look, wait a minute, hold up, time out. I said, you're going to buy that hat. What are you going to do if Donald Trump gets elected? Nothing. Oh, then they look at me like, I said, that's what the Christians do. We got a bunch of cowardly Christians, cowardly pastors that can't open their mouth. And my pastor's sitting in a prison cell. And it's like, so I get into many conversations with these people, and I just remind them, we got to get back to biblical moral values in this country. Now I share about the kids. 42% in the schools, kids say they're transgender. 22% want to commit suicide. So I start rattling this stuff off to them. And I'll mention to them, I say, hey, I've done 2 years of school board meetings lately. I said, this stuff is getting worse, and we need to wake up. And nobody ever disagrees with me. You know, I'm just trying to light the fires with everybody. It's crazy. But, you know, you think about it, and either whoever wins this election, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly afterwards. Trump, yeah. It's going to get crazy. So we're really going to have to open our mouths. Pastor Neil Peterson said a while back, I heard him say, he said, and he gives that little motion. He said, it's time for the Christians to speak. Open your mouth and speak. He's like, he's adamant about it. See, but he's a fireball too. I just love him to death, but it's time.
Obviously, that's what I'm encouraging people to do. It doesn't make any difference the results of the election in terms of what you should be doing. Now, the motivation may come a little stronger if one individual wins and the other one doesn't, but it should be just the opposite. If Donald Trump wins, you should be taking advantage of that instead of being taken advantage of. But we always seem to want to be taken advantage of. Look at that. Donald Trump may be in office, and he may shake some department heads up, but there are still millions of federal employees that are loyal to their country, and their country is Washington, D.C. They live in Virginia. It's a tough place to win if you're a Republican.
Yep. And the Christians, Donald Trump gets elected, the Christians are going to take their victory lap and go back and do more pie socials.
I get it. Mr. Anderson, can you take us to a break, and then I'll bring Norm in? And
I can.
Sir?
I just wanted to add, if Donald Trump's elected, I heard it said that he's like a doorstop. He's not our savior. He's not going to do a lot for us except give us an opportunity, us being the Christian community who will speak up, an opportunity to do something. I hope that that's the case, that Trump is elected in the fact that people will wake up and take advantage of that doorstop. And, you got a few more years where you can still talk in public about the Lord, whereas it's questionable about that will happen with the left guard.
A good point. Do take us to break, and then we come back. Norm's going to comment. B.J. Edwards along, Mr. Anderson. This is your last call. November 5th might be our last call.
Might be my last day doing the show. I can't find the...
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with B.J. Edwards.
We're going to bring Norm in here before I let Norm talk. Before I let Norm talk, is the progressive agenda dead, folks? Let me tell you what. Let me answer that by asking another question. Is hate speech dead? When hate speech dies, the Democratic Party goes down with it, because that's their livelihood. That's what they're being fed in their veins with. Hate, envy. Absolutely crazy. What can we expect on election day from the forces of evil? Here's a DHA insider admits false flag cyber attack on November 5th will rig election for Harris. These are headlines. Judge orders Arizona to release list of registered voters with unverified citizenship. That's a good thing there. And before I bring Norm in, I may have said this before, but it's worth saying again, as Norm is from Kentucky. Some voting machines in Kentucky are not allowing voters to select President Trump. Instead, when they tap Trump, Kamala Harris ends up being selected. Add it to the list of the reasons to switch to paper ballots. Norm, brother, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Hey, on a little lighter note, I guess, in your first segment, you made I guess, kind of a negative comment about all these lawyers. And it reminded me of the guy that walked through the cemetery reading what was written on the graves. And he crossed one and said, "Here lies a lawyer and an honest man." He said, buried them two to a grave now. So I'll kind of tell you most people's opinion of. I've got a lot I'd like to talk about. I'm holding out that God's going to put Trump back in. I felt like he didn't the last time. I mentioned this last week because we would have just sat back and let him do. And God wanted a lot of things straightened up. And I'm seeing millions. I think there's millions of a remnant, of a Christian remnant that's been working and praying and repenting and of their apathy and so forth. And I just believe God's going to put him back in there. But I'm also hearing,
Norm, I hope you're right. Okay. I'm not speaking this into existence. I'm just saying, don't get caught back on your heels, folks. We have to stay leaning forward regardless of the election results.
Well, I watch a show 3 nights a week called Flashpoint, and it's Christian leaders, and them. And then I heard Charlie Kirk say, if Trump is reelected, we believe he is, our work just begins again. I mean, we've got to start, day one, and working toward. We can't sit back and let him do things. We've got to continue to work and to pray and to get involved. And you were talking about the money issue. I don't know if I think Trump's going to put Elon Musk in charge of cutting. And Elon said he thought he could cut $2 trillion out of our annual budget. And so I think there's a lot of changes to be made. But I've got several things to talk about, but we'll talk about those one at a time if you'd like.
You mentioned Turning Point, and there's a fellow by the name of Norm. Oh, that's you. Has made a proposal to Congress, Turning Point for Congress, as we turn back to God by turning to biblical teachings our country was founded on. We believe government was initiated by God, and the instructions God gave his chosen people are also good for America. Biblically, a strong military, peace through military, Deuteronomy 2:25. Ungodly would be woke and weak. Family in charge of children's education, Deuteronomy 6:4-8. Department of Education in Washington, D.C., that's the ungodly side of it. Man. Economic plan, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, Psalms 33:12. Make money by any means, regardless of who it hurts, drugs, porn, sex trafficking, big pharma, et cetera, et cetera. Be physically responsible, Deuteronomy 15:6. Out of control spending. I never imagined $1 trillion. Never would imagine. Billion sounded like a big number. Tens of billions sounded like a big number. Whoa. Fair justice system. You shall not pervert justice, Deuteronomy 6:18, 19, 20. Don't punish evil. The government does not punish evil. Think about our border. Think about the big cities, the big blue cities.
Jim,
go ahead.
I've got to be excused a minute. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Folks, this is just absolutely incredible. where we are right now, but it's also an incredible opportunity. Betty says, I don't like Elon. His robots will replace humans like us. He's evil. Okay, we'll find out. We'll find out. Thanks, Betty. I'm stunned by what we're looking at right now. I grew up in an era where you respected government. Actually, you respected parents. And schools were not as aggressive about taking the parental responsibility away from parents. But I guess that's because they were in the courting period. They let them play sports. They make them feel good. They enjoy. They get them in the band. Just one happy community. And then I remember the phrase, if it feels good, do it. If it feels good, do it. And then all HELL broke loose. I remember a time when I stepped across that line between right and you could see it. You could actually see the line between right and wrong. Yeah, you could see it. And I'd step over and then back real quick. Nothing happened. I'd step over again, maybe stay for another minute, then get back. And I went, hey, wait a minute. Nothing happened. And then I stepped across it and I stayed for a week and then moseyed on back. And I stepped across it in that time period. I never even bothered to go back. Neither did my fellow Americans. And then the craziest thing happened after that. The line changed colors. Let's say it was a red line to begin with, and now a blue line. Only the blue line, the section I was in, became the moral section, the humanist moral section. We could, if it feels good, do it. For heaven's sakes, do it. Stay married, no fault divorce, right? Children, if they even bother to get married now, have one foot out the door before they ever get in it. Anytime they want out of that relationship. Maybe had a bad night with hubby or a bad night with wife. Yeah, find a lawyer, file for divorce. They have no defense. To me, it's the only situation. We're going to bring Jeff Morgan on here again from Texas, and he can relay this a lot better than I can. We just live in a situation where everything is temporary and anything is okay. We're justifying incredible activities. Look at where we are as a nation. Get Mr. Anderson, put that picture up of the ladies with the pink hats. We have a presidential candidate that is appealing to the female section of our society, where it's body over country. Body over country. We are not just allowing, we're encouraging any kind of sexual behavior. And people are taking advantage of children. This is child abuse. They're introducing to their first intimate relationship. Same sex. And that child gets confused about that. And then those same people that introduced them to that said, don't worry about the confusion. You're okay. Because we don't want you to ever have children. We don't want you to help populate the world. We live in amazing times, folks. Amazing times. When we come back, I've got another voting issue. And I think there might be a video here that we can play, Mr. Anderson. Tuesday should be an eye-opening experience, regardless of the outcome, for everyone in America. And we have to look at it as an opportunity to first work on ourselves. And then, man, our families are so divided. It's just absolutely incredible. Children need fathers. Children need that authority figure. Mothers, lift father up. Stop criticizing him. Stop saying, oh, well, that's just dad. Stop that. And dad, you got to improve yourself first. But
keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage. You just have to raise enough questions, spread enough dirt, plant enough conspiracy theorizing that citizens no longer know what to believe. Once they lose trust in their leaders, in mainstream media, in political institutions, in each other, in the possibility of truth, the game's won. You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage.
garbage. That seems to be the theme this week. They're trying everything they can, folks. Everything they can. Satan wants to destroy this nation. Jeff, did you want back in?
Yeah. Just
don't make me regret this.
You will. I guarantee. I just promise you up front.
All right.
I'm going to say this. I think we got to start looking at things so much differently. And I agree with our brother there a minute ago. I believe Trump's going to win this election. I think it's going to be amazing what's going to come out of these people in this country. So I'm hoping for a great awakening. But it's like, and I love Betty to death, but it says in there in the chat, I do not like Elon. His robots will replace humans like us. As Elon has said, he is evil. So what's our better chances? Trump winning the presidency and Elon helping him? And maybe as we get back to biblical moral values and that we get an awakening in this country, we lead Elon to the Lord. We're going to start looking at this kind of stuff and say, I don't like Elon. But we need some help. We got to quit chopping the legs off of people. And what's worse? You just showed the picture of all them women with the pink hats on. That's worse than robots. They've already got their minds screwed up. There's hundreds of them standing there, and look at all the kids, millions of kids in this country. What they're doing to the kids right now is worse than having robots. I mean, what's going to be worse? You know what I mean? And whichever way it goes is the destruction of family and kids or robots. Sooner or later, God's going to say, that's enough. I'm pulling the plug on you guys. You're done. Yeah. So we got to find the Elon Musk out there and share Jesus with him, get him saved, but then disciple him. Don't just get him saved. Like Coach used to say, what's the churches doing? They get them saved and stack them up like firewood. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with the public square right now. You know what I mean? It's incredible, but we got to start standing up, speaking out, and changing hearts.
Amen. I agree with you. And Betty, if you want in, you're welcome to come in. I've got both sides of the ring here.
Now I'm in trouble.
No, she's not saying anything. She's not saying anything. She's behaving herself. Probably tired from that trip.
She can say whatever she wants to. I'm good.
Yeah, it's. I was on the.
I'll back her up a little bit. You know, I'm very leery of Elon. I don't know what he's going to do. He's shooting rockets into space. That's what Trump talks about. The idea that he wants to put a chip in a human brain, I am very leery about that one. and we can go to the Bible and say, well, the mark of the beast, and this is where it's going. Who knows? I don't know. There's all these different sides of the story right now. It's like the song that we're going to play here in a minute called Ball of a Confusion. I mean, left, right, up, down, I don't know right now. I think that, we're kind of in a position where we're going to vote for a quick death or a slow death. It's even hard to speak my mind right now because there are so many different things that I'm not sure about, and there's a lot of things that cause me to question everything.
We have a leadership problem in America, folks. And it starts in the home.
It does start in the home. And the homes are confused. We're finding out that there's more and more grandparents raising grandchildren.
Yep.
And grandparents aren't designed to do that. You kind of have a different attitude as a grandparent toward the child, even though you raise some children and you have an idea about that. But a grandchild, it's a different relationship. Is that a solid relationship? It's a loving relationship, but is it a nurturing, or a training? I don't know. So
Yeah.
we are living in some very trying times and some very confusing errors.
Opportunities. These are opportunities.
Throw that positivity out there, brother.
These are
right. There are opportunities, and God gives us those opportunities so that we can speak for Him, speak His word. Don't take those words out of context, though. Be careful.
Amen.
Hey, JR.
Yes, sir.
And as you just said that, I love Mr. Anderson too. But here's the deal. Maybe the chips are going to come, maybe they're not. I mean, who knows how bad this is going to get in the future? We don't have a clue. But look at all the little babies that they vaccinate, and look at all the 100 million people they just vaccinated with the jabs. What's going quicker? That is rapid. You know what I mean? They're killing people off. My mom and stepdad are both dead in the last year. They were perfectly fine, and they got 2 of the jabs. It's just, I don't know. I think I'd almost, I'm just joking. But I said, maybe I'd rather have a chip in my mom than have that jab. I mean, I'm just joking. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's just crazy right now. But we're destroying people quicker than Elon is.
I'm a mess. Please forgive me. I'm a mess.
You're forgiven.
Thank you. Oh, I didn't even know my mic was on. But anyway, I want to say something about Elon. I saw a reel that he had released or let out, I don't know, released, but all his robots. So he saw all these robots and he's talking and he said, someday this is going to replace the human race. And that right there just irked me because he is working, he's the enemy within now. The Republican Party in my book. So that's my personal opinion, okay?
If we let him,
God will shut him down before he lets him do that.
I hope so.
Hey, Mr. Anderson, I want you go ahead, Betty. Sorry.
Hey, would you like me to talk a little bit about where I was? I'll just
after the break.
I'll make a quick review.
No. You don't need a quick review. After we take the hard break at the top of the hour, we'll get you back in. We'll talk about what's going on in North Carolina. Mr. Anderson, I talked about 1984 and about how George Orwell was talking about what's happening today. And I also mentioned about the 60s and 70s, and it feels good to do it. And there was a group, I believe, called the Temptations that had a song that kind of describes where we might be today. So if you would, Mr. Anderson, go ahead, and then we'll have our 2-minute warning, and we'll get back with Betty. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson as the world turns.
People moving out, people moving in. Why? Because of the color of the skin. Run, 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 but you sure can't hide. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Both for me, and I'll set you free. Rap on, brother, rap on. Well, the only person talking about love, man, brother, is the preacher. And it seems nobody's interested in learning but the teacher. Segregation, determination, demonstration, integration, aggravation, humiliation, obligation to our nation. That's what the world is today. The sale of pills are at an all-time high. Your folks walking around with their heads in the sky. Cities aflame in the summertime. No, the beat goes on. Evolution, revolution, gun control, the sound of soul. Shooting rockets to the moon, kids growing up too soon. Politicians say more taxes will solve everything. And the band played on. Around we go. Where the world's headed, nobody knows. Everywhere, unemployment rising fast, the Beatles' new records of gas. And the only safe place to live is on an Indian reservation. And the band played on. Eve of destruction, tax deduction. City inspectors, bill collectors, hardcore, Indian population out of hand. Suicide, too many bills, hippies moving to the hill. People all over the world are shouting in the war. And the band played on.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Was that our 2-minute warning?
Yeah,
All
that
confusion?
turned out to be the 2-minute warning.
All righty.
We
I want to
ran
bring
up on the hour there, so.
I want to bring Betty on. Betty has been in North Carolina. And in case you hadn't noticed, there was some activity going down there in North Carolina. And Betty took it upon herself to go down there and help out. And Betty, what is, in your estimation, what does it look like in North Carolina? What does it look like after Hurricane Helene?
Well, I wasn't actually in where the disaster was. We were outside, and we were in a distribution center. It was Anchor Ridge Ministry. So if you can remember Anchor Ridge Ministry people in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, they're fantastic people to work with, and they need volunteers. And you saw a lot of people come in that it was so emotional and humbling and rewarding yet, that people that are living in tents that would just need some stuff, and they were the most humbled, because at night I would play security because I slept in my truck for a week, and the Mexicans would come and try to steal things. And it was crazy because they didn't need to be there. They're getting paid by the government. We're paying them. And they would come and try to steal things. Generators have been stolen, clothes. So they had to start putting the tagged new clothes inside and good clothes, and leave the torn and weathered clothes outside for the Mexicans to steal. It was just really crazy. But anyway, up in the mountains, the ground is so toxic that, yes, they have actually lost. A lot of people come in with their donkeys and horses to try to get food up to them. They have lost their horses and donkeys because the grass and water is so toxic. A farmer lost all his goats and sheep because the water's so toxic. And what there is they're called radiation fuel rods. And they had them. Why they were up in the mountain, people don't know. They said it sounds like East Palestine. But they were up there in the mountain where they got hit and they got buried. And when that water and mud ran down the hill, so did that radiation. So, and I got an article on it from somebody, and because they couldn't figure out where the radiation came from. So these people that are living way up, their shoes are melting off of their feet, their soles, because of the radiation.
Wow.
And they also have to, usually it's the women and children coming down for food. And we made blessing bags and stuff. And because the husbands or the men have to protect their tents, because sightseers and other people are going up there and stealing their stuff and then taking it to the flea market. So they have to guard their little tent city or tent village, or even their own little tent. And FEMA was there, but we never saw them. They were all living in the hotels at $200 a night. So the volunteers and people that were coming down there couldn't even afford to live or stay at a hotel. So unless you have 3 or 4 guys to split the cost. So it was sad. And you don't see Red Cross. You don't see Salvation Army. Salvation Purse has their major corporation building or something really close there, and they got supplies, but they kept sending them over to Anchor Ridge because they don't want to give anybody their supplies. I don't know what they're doing with it, but people were coming over and saying Samaritan Purse wasn't helping them to come down to Anchor Ridge. So I would not support Red Cross, Salvation Army, or Samaritan Purse. That is why they're out there with their $8 million yachts. And the chemtrails, I saw very few chemtrails, so I was really amazed. It was sunny out, it was beautiful out. It was great to see blue skies, but they've devastated that area so bad that they really don't need much chemtrails until probably later on when people are starting to get on their feet.
Now, Betty, just for clarification, with chemtrails, it's a weather control theory that's yet to be disproved or proven. It's just kind of up in the air about it, excuse the pun. You see those streaks across the sky, those white streaks, and it is mentioned that those planes may be salting the clouds, just say with aluminum or something like that, which is causing.
You're muffled. I'm sorry. You were muffled. You were muffled.
I'm sorry.
There you go. Now you're good.
Okay. I think it's supposed to be aluminum. Is that what they're seeding the clouds with?
Aluminum, barium, COVID. I've seen aluminum flakes on my plants. I know they're throwing it down.
Okay.
Yep. My cats eat the grass. They never got sick. Every time they eat the grass, they get sick.
Okay. So they don't want to seed the clouds, or they don't want to do any weather control there because that's already happened. And maybe they're going to greener pastures, if you will, excuse that pun, or they're going to let the government come in or When you talk about Mexican, you're talking about illegal immigrants. Is that what you're talking about, Betty?
Not sure if they're illegal or illegal,
Okay.
but they come in, and then during the day, I know I noticed this family about 4 days in a row. They would come and they would try to get things. And then when I finally said, "You here to sell this stuff for money?" And then they acted stupid, couldn't speak English all at once. So I think what they're doing is taking stuff and they're selling it. So it's crazy. So people are really watching them, keeping tabs on them.
Is there any Army reserves or any federal troops down there at all?
No, not where I was. Nobody.
Hmm.
Just, I was their security for a week. So hopefully they'll get somebody else. And one guy came in about 2 days after me. A lot of people have donated, not a lot, but I've seen about 4 or 5 campers be donated. So he had a pop-up tent that's flat, and he wanted to sleep in his car. He put all his stuff on there and all his donations, and when he woke up the next morning, they were all gone. So the Mexicans are stealing.
Somebody is.
Yeah. Well, everybody that came there was Mexican every night. 1:30 at night, 3:40, they were constantly waking me up, and there was always Mexicans.
And you're doing that by the language?
I'm by their color of their skin and their language. Because they would, they couldn't speak English, what, so whatever. Yeah, I just know Mexicans. I've been around enough of them.
Okay. So how long are you down there, Betty?
About a week.
Okay.
Friday to Friday.
Best thing that happened to you, worst thing that happened to you while you were there?
Well, knowing those people, they're fantastic volunteers down there. They're workers. Some come every day for the last 3 or 4 weeks or however long it's been. I love it that they're like-minded. They are MAGA. They love Trump. They're ready to get rid of Biden. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. They know what's going on in our country. And I came really, really good friends with them.
Good.
And the thing that really got me, and I'd have to go in the back and bring tears, is the families coming in and they don't have nothing, and
how do they get there, Betty? How do they get to you?
A lot of them had like cars that had been beat up even through the storm, just somehow got them down there. And I don't normally brag about myself, but there was one girl with 3 cute little girls come in, and I gave her an Armor of God challenge coin. And then it was Halloween, so, day, and I'd met her, I think it was Saturday. And then she says, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "Yeah, kinda." And because I remembered the girl. She said, "Well, you gave me that coin, that Armor of God coin." I said, "That's awesome." She said, "Well, I barely have enough gas to get back up to the mountains, but I want to make sure the girls have a good time," because the girls were all dirty. Their clothes were torn, and they just came back down for basics because they always thought that somebody needed it more than them, even though they were living in the tent. Talk about humbling, And I said, "Well, that's good." I said, I don't celebrate Halloween." And she says, "Well, we don't either, but the girls need to do something. Go get some candy or something,
Good point.
And she said that I'm just praying that I need to go, she says, so I can park the car because I might not have enough gas to get up the mountain. And some drove 2 and 3 hours up the mountain, so I don't know how far she drove. So I gave her $100 bill for her gas. Told her I don't like Happy Meals, but go get those girls 3 Happy Meals, make them happy, and go and enjoy your night. And she says, "Can I give you a hug?" And I tell you what, we both just cried. It was very emotional to think. And her husband was up there protecting the tent so people wouldn't steal what they already had.
That's amazing. Have to send the women out so you can protect, and they're at risk when they go out.
Yes.
And there isn't any. Obviously, there's no help from the federal government in terms of protecting their property or protecting the folks that are coming down. There are needs up there. I mean, look, folks, when you get a headache, you go to the cabinets, you get out an Advil or an aspirin, you take it, and you're done. Okay, that isn't in there anymore. You want a midnight snack? You want something to eat? You don't have anything to eat? We get back to the basics, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs: shelter, food, shelter, water. That's where they are. And Betty knows something that a lot of us, I've learned a little bit about this, but not as much as Betty. But when you give, it's a gift. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to get a gift in heaven, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean that. But when you give, it's like no other experience that you're going to have, because it's just a fulfilling exercise, and Betty is addicted to that. So she has to give more than most folks, because she's been giving more than most folks, and God bless her for doing so.
I don't do it for notoriety. The one song, the only name you need to remember is Jesus. You don't need to remember mine.
We should mention Coach Dave Live, because he's pumped a lot of money into this, and he's got a lot of people that are working soon to be on the ground, and been financially supporting some folks that are already on the ground. Just organizations like that we want to recommend and commend for what they're doing. And Betty, commend you for what you're doing. We can't thank you enough. Anything else you want to leave us with, Betty, before we get into the election mess again?
Well, I have to thank Coach and you and so many, but you've motivated me in the last 4 or 5 years. The churches are so lukewarm. It's unbelievable. The pastors need to get off the pews and start doing something. I don't see none of my churches around in this town, doing anything. It's all about money, building bigger buildings and more paychecks and cruises for them. So I am done with churches. You guys are my church and you are my family.
Yeah, it's how you practice it, how you define it, because the church still exists. There's lukewarm churches, Church of Philippi, etc. There's all kinds of churches out there.
And I'm going to say something else, because I got Democrat family and I got Democrat friends. And it's sad that they could not donate even a dime. It is the little middle class, poor people who love the Lord and are like-minded that give the most. And I thank you for all that you helped me with and getting stuff down there. And thanks to Fred Hans, he actually paid for the U-Haul. And so I really, really appreciate everybody. So you know what? Democrats, I'm sorry to say this, but they're greedy and they're ungodly. You cannot be a Democrat and a Christian both. It is impossible. Look up Ecclesiastes 2-3. It says the wise go to the right, the fools go to the left, and the fools that lack sense and they walk down the road acting stupid. That is about the truth of it.
Amen. Amen. Betty, appreciate what you're doing. Look, CoachDaveLive.com. He has a huddle every weekday, Monday through Friday, from 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 8. If you want to meet more people like Betty, I'd highly recommend that you consider looking into that, CoachDaveLive.com. And you can also pop in here on Saturday morning. By the way, if you're on Rumble, follow us, please. It'll help. Just hit that follow button. It'll really help us. And Saturday morning, we present people like that have been out doing things. This is Do Radio. We emphasize those that are doing, not those that are complaining. That's not doing. That's part of the healing process. You have to recognize. You have to do. We're full of diagnosticians here in America. Everybody knows what's wrong and how bad it is, et cetera, but nobody wants to operate, with the exception of the Bettys of the world and folks like her. Betty, thanks again very much for what you're doing. Don, thanks for your comment there. I love it. Hey, let's take a break, Mr. Anderson. We'll get a little bit into J.D. Vance. Look at this. This is such an interesting ticket, the Trump Vance ticket. I didn't understand it until it really got into the heat of the battle. But JD is incredible. And he had a quote the other day about the Vice President Harris, that, well, I'll read it. We'll go back from the break, but I think it's very telling, very telling. Hey, B.J. Edwards along, Mr. Anderson, this is your last call.
Hello. The founding of America has been a great success story for the principles of democracy, and it has inspired millions all over the world. The USA has become the most powerful nation in the history of mankind, and it's due to its founding principles and to its Constitution. And we've had various political movements in our history with a divergence of ideologies promoted with, relative respect given to each. But it seems that recently there are forces in high places trying to divide our country along racial and political lines, and it's led to political violence, even family divisions, which is not who we are as Americans. And it's been said that it doesn't take much to see that something is wrong, but now it does take some eyesight to see what will put it right again. And we're going to ask you to remember to be a pledger in November. And that is why we're asking all good Americans, regardless of their political affiliation, to join us in taking the first step by pledging to be engaged, to be educated, and more important, be a peaceful agent of democracy and freedom. And as President John F. Kennedy so aptly stated, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country. And the first step in this process is to join millions of your fellow Americans in a pledge for unity and peace for the November 5th elections. Remember, we need you to be a pledger in November. So the pledge is, I pledge to become an informed voter and participate in our election of fellow citizens with respect, regardless of opposing viewpoints and political discourse. Not to be involved in any political violence leading up to November 5th and into the next administration. Peacefully and respectfully accept the will of the American voter, and enlist others in the campaign for peace and unity in our country as a civic duty. And lastly, work to bring unity among all Americans regardless of the result of the election. So we're asking you to sign this pledge, and remember, freedom is never more than just one generation away from extinction. Remember, we need you to be a pledger in November.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
I'll bring JC in here. Before we do that, I promised JD Vance, Vice President Kamala Harris has no problem lying to the American people. Come on, come on, come on. In fact, she does it so often now that it makes it difficult to decipher what is true and what isn't, as well as what exactly her policies stand for. Republican vice presidential candidate JD Vance perfectly summed up Harris's constant lying, comparing her to his 4-year-old son. It seems that during a 4-hour interview with Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience, Vance likened Harris lying to his toddler, who recently lied about stealing an Oreo cookie. Vance, who did reveal that he likes to bake, was making an Oreo cake with his son. The senator explained that he left the room for a few minutes, leaving the toddler alone in the kitchen with the cookies. When he came back, Vance noticed that a few of the Oreo cookies were missing. When he asked his son if he had eaten the cookies, the boy said, "I didn't eat the Oreos, Dad. You did." Any of that sound familiar? JC, pop away, brother.
Hey, going back a little bit what Betty was talking about when she was telling the stories, I thought of this. Just One reaching one. If we would just get to that point. I just got done dealing with old Cowboy Dave up here, the one they sent down with the box truck. You know, you get along with, I mean, I'm not selling any cars hardly at all, but the Trump flags and hats, I'm busy. The donations dropping off here. I had a realtor in town that took 2 loads down, and he actually went to Oswenosa or whatever that's called, that town. Same one that Cowboy Dave's in
North Carolina.
Yeah. So the realtor, they've already quit taking supplies, but everybody in town in this county knows him. So he's sending them here. So now all of a sudden with selling Trump flags, I got people coming and dropping stuff off. So we filled that box truck in about a week. Roughly, it was like 7 skid loads of stuff. 3 of the skids, I had to break them down and load them box by box. The last 4 skid loads, I had the opportunity of a forklift setting them up in there. So Cowboy Dave gets here. He looks in that truck, steps up on that bumper, and that man was a tough guy. Cowboy hat, cowboy boots. He's a tough dude. He's standing up there crying, standing on the back of that truck. Just tears. I mean, he stood there and cried for 5 minutes on how blessed these people are going to be when he pulls that truck into town. Telling us a story about one woman coming up to pick up some donations because he's been there for the last couple of weeks living in a tent. He said, if they have to live in tents, I'm living in a tent. And somebody cut the whole back of his tent out, stole all his stuff. But he said one woman come pulling up in a car, had no tires on it, just the rims. She was driving it on 4 rims, no rubber tires on it, just to get there to get some supplies. He's got story after story. Coach going to get him on somewhere and just let him go. But like the other day, they found.
Jeff, people don't know you all that well or know the situations. Maybe they don't listen to Coach's show on a daily basis. Again, CoachDaveDobmeyer.live. What happened is that donations started to flow into JC's Auto Parts, JC's Autos in Mount Vernon, Ohio. They didn't have any way to get them down to the hurricane area. And it was decided they were going to buy a truck. So they bought a truck. Where'd you run into Cowboy? Is he local?
I never knew him before, never met him before. Coach knew him. Yeah, he's in Newark.
He's in Newark. Okay, so that's maybe 20, 30 miles away from you.
Yep.
So what came together is the donations and a way to get them there, and then somebody to take them there, distribute them, and help the people out. And this happened almost overnight, folks. So what JC's talking about is that, okay, JC, like Betty, is a giver. He's a doer. Okay. So what am I going to do with all these donations? And then things just started to come together. By the way, there's prayer going on during all of this. God goes before, helps facilitate, but you have to step into that arena. Go ahead, Jeff.
So, and also part of that truck was 2 of these guys I know brought me that truck before I said anything to Coach, and they brought it. I looked at it and I said, nah, I said, take it out of here. I don't want it. And we'll say that was on Tuesday. So they and sold it to 2 black guys up by Cleveland. Same price I was going to get it for, which I didn't drive. I didn't look at it. I just like, no, don't need it. I just couldn't afford it right at that moment. So here we go. 2 days, the next day, I talked to Coach, got a hold of me. He said, what about that truck? I said, nah, I didn't get it. They already sold it. And Coach was like, darn. So it was like 2 days later, these guys got a hold of me and said, hey, them 2 black guys stiffed us on that truck. They made us take it back. They used it for 2 days. Now we got it back. I said, whoa. I said, hold up. Do not sell that truck this time. I said, Coach wants that truck. I said, we're not going to miss it this time. So I ended up getting the truck, and they don't know what these guys did with that truck for 2 days, but they used it and then wanted their money back. So we ended up with it. I mean, that was a blessing right there that we even got that truck back. So, I got the truck for $3,800, a 1-ton dual wheel box truck, 18-foot box on it. It's just good. It got the ramp in the back, everything you pulled out of the back. But you start looking at all these things that go on. And I got people, as soon as that truck left, I got stuff flowing in again. The one realtor here in town went and bought $1,700 worth of stuff, backpacks and boxes of hoodies and stuff. I'm getting a pile over there again. So we're going to run this truck back and forth. And like with Betty, we'll be able to, if she's got more stuff, we just use this truck. Anybody around here, we'll just run the truck. Cowboy Dave will stay a load here, maybe stop in Lancaster, pick up another load, and go on down or whatever he's got to do. But we're going to run it back and forth every couple weeks, running loads. So I look at it, and the situation with Cowboy Dave the other day, he was telling me, he caught that. He showed me the video. You've got to see this video. He caught the guy with a box truck stealing everything. I mean, just stealing everything. And this guy had been doing it for a while. Well, he's videoing it. He walks up the back of the truck, and the guy's in his truck, standing at the back with the door open. You can see it's all full of stuff. Cowboy Dave walks up and he goes, "Hey, here's the thief that's stealing everything." And he's videoing the guy's face. And he said, "Look, here's his license plate." Then he walked around in front of the truck. He's videoing it. They ended up catching that guy, the law enforcement, and he went and filed charges, showed him the video. They caught the guy. And he told me, he said, "JC, you ain't going to believe it," because he got the truck emptied. He said, "I had to take the truck to the impound place, the police department, and I got it full with stuff, and they give him everything. They didn't know what to do with this." So how many times do you ever hear of a police impound place just giving it all back to one guy? Everybody's stuff, because they know the importance of it. So obviously, the good Lord touched the hearts of that police department to say, just give it to Cowboy Dave. He said they were hauling with their police, because he couldn't haul it all. They were hauling with police cars and police vans, helping him haul it back to where he wants it. They were just delivering it for him. He's blown away with just what's going on. But I just believe that I think things are going to happen. And what do we always say? Everybody always says, God is in control. God is in control. Well, if we really believe that, then we wouldn't go down all these bunny trails with Elon Musk and all these things. Just do what we got to do. One way or another, the good Lord's going to take care of this thing. We just got to get busy and just reach more people and ride out the storm. Oh, that was an old REO Speedwagon song, Riding the Storm Out. There you go, JR. See you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Love the good works. This is just, we're talking about elections. We were talking about North Carolina. Took a little break from it, like lighten up there, BJ, lighten up. Okay. Were you aware? We're talking about the election. We're talking about voting. Were you aware that a California man was arrested early voting? Justin Davis. I think he arrived around 9 a.m. at the voting location. And you know what he did? He presented his driver's license, which horrified the poll workers. So that what they do, of course, they immediately called the police to report this blatant act of racism. There's no place for this type of lawlessness in California, said Los Angeles Police Department spokesman Sergeant Paul Marquez. We received a tip that there was a man showing his ID to vote here, which is a brazen violation of California law. Our officers arrived quickly to apprehend this monster. I'm just glad we're able to get him off the street before he could show his identification to anyone else. The place just keeps getting more dangerous. When reached for comment, can I see your eye? I love that. When reached for comment, California Governor Gavin Newsom cited the latest incident as a perfect example of why voter ID law should never be allowed. Just look at the harm the man caused. Here he is, obviously a dangerous right-wing white supremacist, walking into a polling location and showing his ID. Such bigotry will not be tolerated on my watch, said Newsom. We will continue to strive to make California a place where nobody knows who is voting, whether they can legally do so, or what happens to anyone's ballot after it's been cast. That leads to free and fair elections, the California way. Justin Davis, by the way, has been charged with hate crimes, found guilty, and sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. Tell me we have illegal voting. Yeah. I think that was from the Babylon Bee. Hey, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, a little more of the election headlines. And we may have another video or two to show you. Hey, look at If you haven't been already, go to the polls, vote, 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 but vote once. I was talking.
Hi, I'm Bob Tyler with Advocates for Faith and Freedom. Just bringing this update quickly because we brought a lawsuit against the California Secretary of State today with regard to this upcoming election. We represent the Election Integrity Project of California, the great group. They did an audit of the November 2022 election. They discovered that there's a discrepancy in ballot count of about 43,624 ballots showing up today as having been cast but not included in the certification in 2022. Very concerning. We don't know why. We've asked the Secretary of State for a response. In some counties, there's more ballots that were certified. In other counties, there's less ballots than certified in comparison to the data we have today. So bottom line is, we think that the Secretary of State, just like when we file our taxes, our numbers have to match. And the Secretary of State, this is her job, her numbers better match. And so we brought this lawsuit. We're asking a state court in county of Sacramento to either compel the Secretary of State to respond with justification for why the numbers don't match. Maybe there's a reasonable answer, and or to impose a special master to ensure that the certification of the 2024 election matches, that the numbers match, the Secretary of State does a proper accounting. So we think the people of California deserve that. Not only that, the state, the entire country deserves that, because the control and fate of Congress could be as a result of some of the congressional seats that are up in California. So appreciate your prayers, appreciate your contributions to what we do. Thank you very much.
Faith, discussion, and so much more. Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Tariffs or minimum wage? Kamala Harris buying votes again. We're going to pay for your education. And then come out today and said, well, it doesn't really make any difference whether you have an education or not. Yeah, that's the newest and latest, the greatest. Federal employees no longer be required to have a college education. That'll fix things. Doctors don't have to have a doctorate degree. Huh? Come on. No certification for mechanics. Anyway, Vice President Kamala Harris pledged her support for doubling the federal minimum wage from $7.25 an hour to at least $15. She'd work hard with Congress to make the change. Of course, she worked at McDonald's and Trump worked at McDonald's. So yeah, she's trying to take advantage of the McDonald's question. Good for her. I mean, Trump did it. A heck of a lot better, by the way, but he did it. What would that do? Yeah, that's right. Drink the Kool-Aid. What would that do to the economy? If you've taken any economy courses, college or not, you know that there's a demand and supply issue here, okay? And there's costs in terms of production. So you're going to double the cost for a good portion of the employees of McDonald's, of other institutions, companies that employ minimum wage. You're going to double their costs. Now, what choices do they have? Well, one of the choices is technology. Mm-hmm. You go in there to that kiosk, there won't be anybody at the cash register. You may have a Musk invention that'll cook the burgers for you, take your money, actually walking in the door with a credit card with a chip in it that already know who it is and what they're ordering. You don't have to bother about it. You don't have to sign anything. They'll just take care of it and put it on your credit card bill. Or the cost of your food is going to go up. 50%? 25%? 30%? Hmm? What do you think, Mr. A?
Well, I had an interesting experience recently with the Columbus Zoo, and they the prices the prices to go to the zoo anymore. I don't know how families can even imagine going. It's free. It's expensive. It was $70 just to get in the gate for my wife and I, and $10 parking. So I asked about a season pass and how that compared to a daily pass. Well, season pass is about twice as much. So I could go back again 2, 3. I got a year. I can go back as many, and I'm at 15 minutes from the zoo, so it's no big deal. But what they were telling me is they're no longer giving you a card, like a membership card you used to get one. Now it's all digital on your phone, so you have to have a phone to be a member of the Columbus Zoo.
What was I thinking? You don't need a card, just have your phone. Oh, silly me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, maybe someday I'll just carry a chip in the back of my hand. I don't know, and it tells if I'm what clubs I belong to.
We could this
In
would
addition,
be a show we could do with hands, not hands free. We'd have our microphone there, and go ahead, Mr. Anderson, finish.
yeah. We might even be able to have an image transported to your living room, so it looks like we're actually there.
There you go.
That would scare people. Now I get a email from the zoo telling me that they're no longer accepting cash. So everything now is credit card. So when you go to the Columbus Zoo and you want to buy some popcorn for your kid, you either have to have a credit card. What if you don't have a credit card? Some people still don't do that. They'll have convenient machines that you can buy ATM cards or something that I don't know. But anyway, it's all going digital at the Columbus Zoo in Columbus, Ohio. Just kind of like okay, here we go, cashless society. We're stepping up.
Look at folks, the problem is not the government. The problem is we, the people.
Yeah, we buy this stuff.
Yep. I think about the hurricane and how this brings a community back to normalcy. Okay. And how your family, how your neighbors, how your city, we talk local, boom. And outside folks like Betty and Cowboy and others. We don't want to get that message, folks. We do not want to get that message. There's a way to avoid it. Look at this. This isn't all bad news. All right. Let me give you some good news. This past week, the unvaccinated are the healthiest people, according to a cohort study. A call for MSNBC to lose their FCC license over coverage of the Trump rally at Madison Square Garden, comparison to pro-Nazi rally. And I think Trump is suing one of the major stations. CBS is bad. Columbia Broad, it is bad. It is the worst of the worst. And Trump is suing them for editing a supposed live interview with Kamala Harris. Idaho Health Board. Let's get back to that local thing. First in U.S. to defy CDC, FDA by removing COVID vaccines from clinics. Idaho. They're the folks that try to pass that traditional natural family month. Central bank digital currency projects are floundering in 5 nations. Boeing just became the largest company to scrap its entire diversity department. Watchdog win. Federal courts appealed rules against counting post-election day ballots. San Francisco transit workers who were fired for refusing COVID-19 injections awarded more than $1 million each in cash. There's your lottery. Just participate. Buy a ticket. Trump announced policy to seize assets of drug cartels, pay back victims of migrant crimes. Oh my. And Elon Musk, who we've talked a little bit about this morning, supports abolishing the Federal Reserve.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, I wonder what Donald says about that, huh? Not Trump, our friend Donald. Let's see, we got a note here from Betty. Go to Charlotte. Most places don't take cash. And if you have cash, sometimes it's $9. And if you have $10, they have no change. And they keep the change. They're probably donating that to the victims, the extra dollar, right? You think? Anyway, there's some good news there for you. It's not all bad news. But folks, I think the path is clear. We just have to see it. If you can't see it, pray to see it. Watch others. No, I meant big business. Boeing needs war to survive. Wonder how we're going. Wonder who would give us the quickest route to war? Trump or Kamala Harris? Bill Gates. This man is really coming up on my radar screen. Pushes WEF back global digital cash and ID. Small Midwestern town overwhelmed by 3,000 African migrants living tax-free. Living off taxpayers. Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Oh, I'm just shaking my head. Like, yeah.
LBG activists meet with Pope, urge him to end Vatican opposition to trans ideology. They evidently have a place at the table, folks, that they can discuss this with the head of the table. And don't be beating on the Catholic Church, because when you go to your Protestant church and behind the pastor, you'll see 5 doors or 10 doors. And those are all closets. And that's what the pastor is asking you to, encouraging you to step into, the closet. Because there's no room out here for us Bible-believing Christians. Don't stay too long or they'll put you in a prison. Mark my words, folks. If Kami gets elected and Waltzy, we're gonna be in, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I wish I had that clip for you.
Significant threat. Federal government launches plan to track faith data. What? Say what? Significant threat. Federal government launches plan to track faith data. If you put yourself in a position where something bad can happen, it might. If you continue to vote, if you continue to put yourself in a position where something bad can happen, it will. Political parties. I'm not too awfully sure they can be fixed. I'm kind of thinking about them like I am public schools. Trying to fix a bad idea is a bad idea. You know, the founders did not want 2 parties.
Nope.
They knew what would happen. And now we're living in it.
Well, it happened pretty quickly while they were still around even.
Yep.
Already started developing.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's somebody wanted it to begin with. and they nixed it. I've got one suggestion, and it's family oriented. Of course it would be, with regards to what we can do after the break. And one of the things that whoever gets into office, I don't care who it is, Tommy or Donald Trump, whoever sits in that presidential seat, whoever sits in your mayor's seat, whoever sits in your township seat, your city council seat, county seat, state government, something that needs to be presented to all of them, that needs to be talked about, that was talked about in the 70s and then dropped. It was talked about by a president. It needs to be resurrected. Let's take a break, Mr. Anderson, and I'll get into that. BJ Edwards along, Mr. Anderson. This is your last call, Election Central.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Mentioned the state of Idaho celebrating the natural family. Ronald Reagan, in 1987, Executive Order 12606, 1987, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, in order to ensure the autonomy and rights of the family are considered in the formulation and implementation of policies by executive departments and agencies, it is hereby ordered as follows. I'd love to see this as a constitutional amendment. Family policy criteria in formulating and implementing policies and regulations that may have significant impact on family formation, maintenance, and general well-being, executive departments and agencies shall, to the extent permitted by law, assess such measures in light of the following questions. I would take out the extent permitted by laws. Does this action, this is incredible, does this action by government strengthen or erode the stability of the family, and particularly the marital commitment? This is interesting because this is the guy that gave us, Ronald Reagan, no fault divorce. Wow, trying to wipe that out, and good for him. Does this action by government strengthen or erode the stability of the family, and particularly the marital commitment? Does this action strengthen or erode the authority and rights of parents in the education, nurture, and supervision of their children? Hello. Does this action help family perform its functions, or does it substitute governmental activity for that function? Department of Education, Family Services. Think about how many people and how much money they are pouring in to agencies that have their claws on the family. And let's define the family naturally. That would be one biologically born man, one biologically born woman, in a lifelong, committed, monogamous relationship. That is the best practice. That is nature's way. And every time you get away from nature, well, there's a price to be paid. Ask Adam and Eve. Does the action by government increase or decrease family earnings? Ooh, hey, Don, taxation there, brother. Can this activity be carried out by a lower level of government or by the family itself? What are we focusing on here, folks? The family, through the lens of the family. And by the way, the structure of that family naturally is God, Jesus Christ. It's vertical, man, not horizontal, vertical. God, Jesus Christ, man, woman, children. That is a vertical relationship. That's where you educate children in the family, and that's where the child learns authority and hopefully a knowledge of their creator. What message, intended or otherwise, does this program send to the public concerning the status of the family? Excuse me. What message does it send to young people concerning the relationship between their behavior, their personal responsibility, and the norms of society? I'd love to know who helped him write this. I wasn't around. Government-wide family policy coordination review executive departments and agencies shall identify proposed regulatory and statutory provisions that may have, I'll bring you in here in a moment, Norm, may have significant potential negative impact on the family well-being and provide adequate rationale on why such proposal should be submitted. The head of the department or agency shall certify in writing that to the extent permitted by law, again, I'd kick that out, such measure has been assessed in the light of the criteria of Section 1 of this order and how much such measures will enhance family well-being. Such certification shall be transmitted to the Office of Management and Budget. Departments and agencies shall give careful consideration to family-related concerns and their impact and notices of proposed rulemaking and message transmission legislative proposal to Congress. The Office of Management and Budget shall, to the extent permitted by law, again, kick that out, take action to ensure, unless the law is this new law, to ensure that the policy of the executive department and agencies are applied in light of the criteria set forth in Section 1 of this order, which I just read to you. The Office of Policy Development shall assess existing and proposed policy regulations that impact family well-being in light of the criteria. What are we doing here, folks? We're focusing on the family. We're looking through the lens of the family. We've defined the family. Now we're putting the family in the place it needs in society, that three-legged stool, okay? The content, the structure, and where they play in society. You don't make a law unless you see how that law affects the family. Again, defined. If it's going to have a negative impact, you don't do it. Where today's, it's like it has a negative effect on the family, you must assure do it. We've got to change this. We got to change that. We got to be more diverse. Well, that's why we have the problems we have today, folks, especially with the family, because we've been just too doggone diverse. Let me finish this up here, maybe, if I can get the page turned. The Office of Policy Development which should submit preliminary reports, including specific recommendations to the Domestic Policy Council. This order is extended to improve the internal management of the executive branch and not intended to create any right or benefit. Yeah, I would disagree with that. Substantial or procedure enforceable at law by a party against the United States agencies, officers in person. Ronald Reagan. Filed with this office on Federal Register, 11:56 a.m., September 8th, 1987. September 8th. Dates do have meaning. Hey, brother Norm, what's up?
Well, I just wanted to say, the attack has always been against the family. And I've said for a long time, evil understands biblical principles much better than Christians do. And that's just a sad fact. I mean, they know what to go after. And again, you break down the family and you break down everything.
Yep.
You break down the family, leads to weak and woke churches and, a corrupt government. And so, that's where the focus has always been and will continue to be until the Christians wake up. And I'm not sure they're going to.
Maybe in November. Hope not that way, but maybe in November. I mean, you have to look at this in a positive light.
Yeah, I'm still very hopeful about the election. I mean, I know. I mean, obviously, we've been under judgment.
Yeah,
and we're going to continue to reap a lot of what we've sown. But if we can get President Trump back in there, I mean, he's done more to stand for religious freedom than any president that we've ever had. Mm-hmm. And I think, we're going to find out next week what God's plan is.
Hopefully.
You know,
I'm not too awfully sure I agree with that because
well,
I don't see it. Go ahead.
well, Maricopa County's already said it may take them 10 to 13 days to count the votes.
Mm-hmm.
I think one state they're going to count the absentees for 5 days after the election, and so yeah, they've got a lot of shenanigans going on.
Yeah. What if we have to wait on the Supreme Court?
Well, true.
That'll take a little while. There'll be arguments there. But you have to get that through the appeals court or go directly to the Supreme Court. And I suppose it'd be an emergency situation.
Right.
I could see this possibly dragging on for quite some time.
You're right. You're right.
Neither side, once again, neither side will accept the results of the election.
Correct.
Neither side. And if you think the rhetoric got heated up to November 5th, woohoo, boy, wait till the lawyers get in there and they start talking. My, oh my, oh my, oh my. Mr. Anderson, we got a 3 minutes left. You got anything to say? Or are you just going to quietly get out of here?
I like being quiet these days.
Okay.
There's so many issues on the table, and there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. I agree wholeheartedly. Focus on the family. I don't like to sound like I'm promoting a radio show, but that's what everybody needs right now, is to hang on to one another, and like a mother hen brings in her chicks, put your arms around them, remind them who the Lord is, and put our faith in that above all things. And don't be silent about the truth, because the truth, I hate to call it a cliche, because it is in the Bible. If you know the truth will set you free. So that's what we have to hang on to. Politics, they're not government. Politics are liars. Politicians are liars. They're going to do anything they can to sell you a car, right? Or something like that.
Uh-oh.
Government.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but JC's not there right now.
Obviously, we'll be hearing from him. And we got just about 2 minutes left, Kevin. You want to close us out, and then let's get out of here, hey, folks. This is an opportunity. We don't know what the opportunity is until November hits, and then it's going to become clearer and clearer and clearer to us. Don't hide. Jump in. Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Just stand firm and stand tall and speak out, and if you say it wrong, at least you said it. That's all I can say.
Remember, red or a vest to the polls, folks.
Oh, right.
I want to thank Betty. I want to thank JC, Norm,
Thank you, Betty.
everybody
Thank you
that is in our area of influence, if you will. This is just an incredible group of people that you get to deal with here on Saturday mornings and through the week with Coach and then out in activities with other folks. This isn't just all about us. This is about those that know to do good and are doing it.
And don't contribute to politicians. Contribute to those people who are doing things that are helping others.
Yeah. Amen. Got it. Let's get out of here, Mr. Anderson. Have a great weekend. And we'll talk to you next Saturday. BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This has been your last call.
Join us next week for Last Call with BJ Edwards.